Hello everyone and welcome back to 10-Minute English Academy, where learning English is easy. You know that nearly 80% of English learners admit they completely panic and freeze up the second they walk into a busy American coffee shop? It is a very real thing. You hear the loud machines, see a giant menu, and suddenly forget every English word you know. But today we are going to fix that completely. I have put together 10 super important questions and answers that will totally save your life at the cafe. We are going to cover 1. Why you should never say I want. 2. How to actually pronounce espresso. 3. What the word barista means. 4. When to use I would like. 5. A secret hack for confusing coffee sizes. 6. How to ask for milk alternatives. 7. What getting sugar on the side means. 8. What a syrup pump is. 9. The American way to say latte and croissant. And 10. How to order food when your mind goes totally blank. Let's jump right in. If you have ever searched for how to order coffee in English on the internet, you already know that watching people do it can still feel confusing. Imagine this. You walk into a super busy cafe in New York City. People are talking loudly, the coffee machines are making that loud shhh sound, and the smell of roasted coffee is amazing. You step up to the counter, and the worker smiles and asks, "Hi there, what can I get for you?" Question 1. Grammar. Why do we answer with can I get instead of saying I want? Answer. When someone asks what you want to buy, your brain naturally translates your thoughts into I want a coffee. But in everyday American culture, saying I want sounds a bit harsh and demanding, almost like a little kid throwing a fit for a toy. Instead, native speakers use the question form to make a request. Saying can I get a medium latte please is the absolute gold standard. It is super polite, totally casual, and fits the friendly vibe of a coffee shop perfectly. You are basically asking for permission to buy the drink, which makes the whole interaction feel soft and friendly. Just memorize the phrase can I get, and you will sound like a total local. Question 2. Pronunciation. How do you properly pronounce the word espresso? Answer. This is a huge one, and honestly, even native English speakers mess this up all the time. A lot of people accidentally say espresso, putting a heavy X sound right in the middle of the word. But if you look closely at the spelling, there is no X in there at all. The correct pronunciation is espresso. You want to make a smooth, soft S sound at the beginning. So the next time you need a really strong shot of coffee to wake you up, confidently say espresso. It takes 1 second to fix this habit, but it instantly makes your English sound incredibly natural and polished. So you look at the menu behind the counter. Maybe you are distracted by the smell of a chocolate muffin sitting right in front of you. You look back at the worker to order. Question 3. Vocabulary. What exactly is a barista? Answer. You hear this word literally everywhere now, but what does it actually mean? A barista is simply the person who works at the coffee shop making your drinks. It is originally an Italian word that translates to bartender, but in English it is strictly used for coffee experts. So when you are talking about the person pulling your espresso shots and steaming your milk, you never call them the coffee maker or waiter. You just call them the barista. It is a super common, everyday word you definitely need in your vocabulary for basic cafe survival. Now, what if you want to mix up your vocabulary and sound a little bit more polite? Question 4. Grammar. Is it okay to use I would like instead of can I get? Answer. Yes, absolutely. I would like is the perfect alternative if you want to change your sentence structure. It is slightly more formal than can I get, but it is still extremely polite and totally normal. You can easily just step up and say, I would like a coffee, please. When you use I would like, it shows you have a great understanding of polite English grammar. If you ever watch videos on everyday English conversation practice, you will notice that native speakers use I'd like for everything from ordering fast food to buying movie tickets. It is a massive flex for your English skills. Let's keep the cafe story going. A few weeks ago, I took a friend to a coffee shop. He doesn't even drink coffee, he only drinks tea. When it was his turn, he got super nervous. He finally said, I'd like a green tea, please. Then the barista hit him with the hardest question. Small, medium, or large? Question 6. Answer. What does the slang phrase make it make sense mean? Make it make sense is one of the most popular phrases used by millennials and Gen Z right now. We say this out loud when a situation is totally illogical, confusing, or just plain ridiculous, and we want someone to explain it to us because our brains cannot handle the confusion. For example, if Americans call a crunchy potato snack chips, but British people call hot French fries chips, an American might yell, "Make it make sense." It is a dramatic, funny way of saying, "This defies all human logic." You can use it at work in arguments with your friends, or when complaining about the crazy rules of the English language. It is basically a fun plea for logic in a very confusing world. Question 7. Answer. What does super salad mean in an American restaurant? Okay, this is a hilarious vocabulary mistake that happens to almost everyone who visits America. Super salad is not a giant superhero-themed bowl of lettuce. It is actually the waiter speaking very quickly and asking, "Super salad?" In many U.S. restaurants, when you order a main dish like grilled chicken, you get a side dish included for free. The waiter will rush up to your table and say soup or salad, but because they talk so fast, the words blend together into super salad. If this ever happens to you, do not ask for a small size of the super salad. Just calmly tell the waiter whether you prefer a warm bowl of soup or a fresh plate of salad. Question 8. Answer. How do we use the phrase, "I'd say no," in conditional sentences? In English grammar, we use the second conditional to talk about imaginary or hypothetical situations. The structure is, if I did this, I would do that. In my story today, my friend Noah says, "If I said yes to everyone, I'd say no to the people who matter." He is using I'd, which is short for I would. This grammar point is super important because he isn't actually saying yes to everyone right now. He is just imagining what would happen if he did. Native speakers almost always contract I would to I'd in everyday conversation. It makes your speech flow much faster and sound way more natural, especially when you are giving someone deep life advice over a cup of coffee. Question 9. Answer. What is a CV, and how is it different from a resume? A CV stands for Curriculum Vitae, which is a Latin term. It is a professional document that lists all your work experience, education, and skills. When you apply for a job, you hand this in. Now here is the trick. In the United Kingdom and much of Europe, everybody calls it a CV. But in the United States, we almost always call it a resume. While a CV can sometimes be super long and detailed, an American resume is usually just one short, punchy page highlighting your absolute best achievements. When my sister Lena was prepping for her big marketing interview, she was stressing over writing her CV, but because she is in the US, the HR managers were technically looking at her resume. Now that you guys are armed with all this English knowledge, you are ready for everyday English conversations in the real world. Let me tell you about the wildest, most chaotic week of my life. If you want to learn English through story, grab a snack and get comfortable, because my friend group literally lived through a sitcom this week. It all started out super chill. My friend Emma and I were hanging out at a cute local cafe, talking about this upcoming concert we were dying to go to. I asked her if she brought the tickets, and she confidently said yes. She reached into her bag to check her wallet, and boom, she totally panicked. Her wallet was gone. She literally thought she dropped it outside. But I reminded her that we had switched tables earlier to get better lighting for an Instagram photo. We rushed over to check the lost and found box, and thank goodness, a kind stranger had found her cute brown wallet with a star on it near the window seat. Her driver's license, her credit cards, and the precious concert tickets were all safe. She thought she'd have to go through the absolute nightmare of getting a new ID at the DMV. Right after that mini heart attack, we needed some retail therapy, so we went shopping. Emma found this vibrant red sweater on sale for just £25. Usually, Emma is the absolute queen of beige and gray. Her style is super calm, but honestly a little boring sometimes. I told her the red would make her stand out and look special, but she was worried she'd end up looking like a giant tomato. I literally promised to buy her an iced coffee and 2 croissants later if she looked bad. She finally tried it on with some classic Levi's jeans, and honestly, she looked like a fashion icon. The red totally gave off main character energy, and she bought it immediately. Just as we were leaving the mall, my phone rang. It was my older brother giving me a desperate SOS. His car completely died in a Target parking lot. He was just standing out there baking in the natural sunlight right by those giant red store signs. He literally tried talking to his car to fix it, which obviously gave him the silent treatment. Since I'm the best little sister ever, I told him to stay put. I drove over with a freezing cold drink to rescue him before he tried to fix the engine himself, and made it 1,000 times worse. After dealing with all that family drama, my brain needed some serious quiet time. I headed to the local public library to borrow a few books. Since I'm new to the area, the lovely librarian helped me set up a card. All I needed was an ID with my local address. When she told me I could borrow up to 10 books at a single time, my jaw dropped. I can barely carry my own purse, let alone 10 hardcovers. She pointed me toward the Feel Good Reads section by this gorgeous, sunny window. I grabbed the Wi-Fi password, which was Red 2025 in all caps, and finally got to relax and finish this novel I had started way back last year. Fast forward to the weekend, it was my brother Mike's birthday. My parents were out of town on a trip, so my sister Sarah and I threw him a surprise party. I decorated the entire living room using aesthetic ideas I found on Pinterest, and Mike joked that the place looked like a sponsored Instagram ad. I totally took that as a compliment. Since he is obsessed with old school music, I bought him a vintage Queen vinyl for his record player. We cut the cake, hung out, and it was just the perfect chill sibling bonding time. The next day, Emma and I went to the movies to watch this intense sci-fi robot film. You'd think it was just a loud movie about explosions, but it was actually this beautiful, deep story about friendship. When the robot sacrificed itself to save the main character at the end, Emma practically started crying in the theater. And of course, she had already finished her entire giant bucket of popcorn before the movie trailers even finished. She says eating popcorn that fast is a skill. I say it's a completely unhinged talent. Honestly, by Thursday, I was feeling super drained from all the running around, so I called the Greenfield Clinic. I spoke to the receptionist to schedule a quick physical checkup with Dr. White. Thursday morning was booked solid, so I locked in Friday at 9:30 a.m. All I had to do was bring my insurance card and show up 10 minutes early. Easy peasy. Right after I booked my doctor's appointment, my friend texted me the absolute best news ever. She adopted a puppy. Her name is Luna, a tiny rescue dog from a local center. My friend was low-key freaking out about how to take care of her first, so I gave her a quick pep talk. I told her to buy soft chew toys immediately, unless she wanted all her expensive socks destroyed. I also told her to take Luna to the dog park near Central Park, so she could burn off energy. It's the best place for a puppy to run around, as long as she doesn't spend the whole afternoon terrorizing the local pigeons. But guys, the absolute highlight of my chaotic week was my British friend Noah flying in to visit. We hadn't seen each other in over 3 years, and the culture shock was so real. If you want to understand British versus American English, just hang out with Noah for 10 minutes. First, he asked for a bottle of water and some biscuits. But because he's British, it sounded like "boar." He roasted my American accent, saying I sound like I'm screaming for coffee, and getting mad that I call French fries chips. I told him I'd trade him for a polite Canadian right on the spot. Then he got completely lost in my apartment building. I texted him to meet me on the second floor. Well, in the US, our first floor is the ground floor. In the UK, their bottom floor is G, and their first floor is actually our second floor. He went to the third floor by mistake and had a total meltdown. He said Americans have absolutely zero logic when it comes to counting. We tried making homemade chicken soup together later that day, and it was almost a disaster. He handed me this weird yellow powder and called it corn flour. In the UK, corn flour is what Americans call cornstarch, the fine white powder that thickens soup. In the US, corn flour is yellow and gritty, meant for baking cornbread. If I had listened to him, our soup would have turned into a literal cake. We definitely needed a food translator. Later that night, Noah saw me doing my massive nighttime skincare routine. Toner, serum, eye cream, moisturizer, the whole 9 yards. He thought I was painting my face or doing a science experiment. I put some fancy serum on him and told him to dab his eye cream gently, not rub it like he's washing a dirty window. He complained that my little bottles cost more than his entire flight, but hey, beauty is an investment. He went to sleep with a very shiny, heavily moisturized face. The next day we hit up a quiet cafe to escape the loud city. The waiter came over and asked quickly, "Soup or salad?" Noah looked at me with wide, terrified eyes and whispered, "Soup or salad? Do I have to choose a size for a giant salad?" I practically died laughing. Then the waiter asked, "Grape juice or water?" Noah heard, "Crave choose a Walter?" He literally asked me who Walter was and why he would crave him. We definitely needed English subtitles for that fast-talking waiter. While we were eating, another mutual friend texted Noah to grab lunch, but Noah immediately turned him down. He told me that he never ditches friends mid-hangout. He said, "If you make plans first, you get the time." It was such a rare, genuine moment. I really appreciated that he prioritized our time together. Loyalty like that is so underrated nowadays, and it reminded me why we are such good friends. Sadly, Noah had to fly back home the next day. But before he left, my mom ordered us to deep clean the house because it looked like a raccoon had trashed the place. We had to vacuum, wipe the coffee tables, and throw out the trash so the house wouldn't smell like a middle school locker room. Meanwhile, my sister Lena was frantically preparing for a massive job interview in the middle of all this chaos. She had outfits thrown everywhere like she was opening a fashion store. I told her to wear the blue button-up shirt because it made her look super professional and smart. We practiced her introduction speech in the hallway. She sounded like a totally stiff AI robot at first, so I told her to just breathe, smile, and act like a normal human being. She went to her interview at the marketing agency and absolutely crushed it. She met with the team lead, Mr. Rosling, and Ms. Miller from HR. She told them all about her marketing degree from FIU and her creative social media campaign that boosted a local cafe's followers by 40%. She was super honest about her weakness, which is overthinking, but she showed how she fixed it by setting strict time limits for herself. She asked great questions about their daily office routine, and they even joked about coffee breaks being mandatory team building. They loved her energy and she definitely got the job. Wow, what a crazy week! If you love this story and want to hear more wild adventures while boosting your English language skills, do me a massive favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the fun. Thanks for hanging out with me here at Learn English with Jennifer. See you in the next one. Bye.